Welcome to the Diva Details. Welcome to the Diva Details, where bold, confident women embrace life unapologetically. From love and sex to wellness and reinvention, we keep it raw, real, and powerful. No filters, no limits. Just fearless conversations to help you thrive. Let's dive in with Diva Mia.
Hello, this is Diva Mia. So today I was going to make a tribute to 9/11 to remember all those that died, and we're still going to talk about that because of the events of yesterday. I think it's very important to reflect on what's going on in this country. I do apologize because I do try to keep politics out of this podcast as much as possible, but it has been weighing on me. So I'm going to share some feelings about it. If you don't know, you'd have been a rock, but Charlie Kirk was assassinated yesterday at an event in Utah where he was speaking. He was assassinated by a gunman that had a rifle from a far distance away and shot right through his jugular. He died either at the event or on his way to the hospital. It is unclear, in front of thousands of supporters. He was an amazing man. I personally believe that we need more men like Charlie Kirk. He was a type of hero to those on the right because of what he spoke, but he was a leader amongst all. To have someone killed just because of his words, when his words were just questions and dialogue with other people to find out their points of view, is shocking. Now, I think it's going to come out that this was some type of hit because there was only one shot, and it was a kill shot from a far distance away, and it was very well coordinated. An older man was arrested right after the shooting, but it was pretty obvious that he couldn't have done it. He had like these thick bifocal glasses on. They interviewed another person of interest, but they released both of them. So far, they have recovered a rifle in connection with Charlie Kirk's assassination, but they still don't have the shooter. I'm sure they will, but it's shocking to the nation. A day is a day, 9/11, to remember all that we've lost. And the tragedy continues. I was going to do a video podcast today, but I didn't want to lose my composure. So Charlie leaves behind a wife and 2 small children, and it is quite sad that there are people they're actually celebrating the death of this man. In order to celebrate someone's death, you have to have lost your humanity. You have to have lost all your morals and ethics and values of human life. I don't care what side of the spectrum you're on. If this was a political activist for the Democratic side or, God forbid, a Democratic politician, the feeling would be the same. This is not right. When someone's biggest crime is discussing his opinion in the United States of America and he gets gunned down, what country do we live in? He was one of the best men out there I've seen in a long time. In a world full of beta boys that just follow along, he was a leader. So today we cover this breaking news. It's hard to keep my composure. I don't know how all of the news broadcasters are. We need more men like Charlie Kirk. There's a shortage in this country right now. Yes, he brought out votes, and yes, he was religious, and yes, he leaned to the right side. But the reality is he was just a really good man. You could see it by the way he treated his family. My heart breaks for his poor young family. Free speech has to be fought for always. It has to be kept. And it's a shame that those that disagree with people's free speech try to silence it. Now, the left will say that he had inflammatory rhetoric, but the reality is he just had a difference of opinion. We're taught to respect other people's opinions. The right, for some reason, seems to, but the left wants to silence the difference of opinion, and it needs to stop. This is not a right or left ideology problem. This is a good versus evil problem. He was a good man. He had a difference of opinion on a few touchy subjects, but he was a good man. And evil took his life. And now people out there celebrate the loss of a patriot, someone that cared about his family, that cared about Jesus, and that cared about this country. People celebrate his murder. There are people getting fired today for making public statements praising his demise, praising the fact that he got assassinated. A college kid actually said, well, somebody had to take him out. What is wrong with this generation? Are they that desensitized to good and evil that they think this is the right thing that needed to happen? Charlie Kirk was 31 years old. He was critically injured. They say he later died in the hospital, but the way the bullet went through, I don't think it was possible to save him, if you actually saw the video of him getting shot. There is some surveillance videos. I hope that leads to an arrest. Hopefully they catch the perpetrator or perpetrators soon. All the flags have been ordered to be at half staff in support of Charlie Kirk. If you remember some other political assassinations, from Martin Luther King to JFK to RFK to the attempts on Scalise to this Ronald Reagan, it's nonsense. If you don't agree with someone, then state your opinion and have a debate. There was talk that he may be president one day. He very well could have been. He was a strong man. Right now, our country has a moment of reckoning. The extremism needs to end and the center needs to rise, because the extremists have been running this country for way too long. This goes way beyond politics. The day before, a woman was sitting in a subway and got stabbed in the neck and murdered just because she was there. There's so much division in this country. There's so much stupidity. There's so much violence. Now, the left is going to come out and say we need more gun control because that's what they always say. I can guarantee you, I bet the person that had the gun had a license for it. But the rhetoric is turning into violence because the media doesn't know when to quit. They take every story and they twist it in a way to make one side mad at the other, and they need to quit. Today, we also remember September 11th, the day the United States was attacked, and we lost 3,000 souls on American land. I'm pretty sure I remember where I was in Chicago, and for weeks after, I was working in the Sears Tower when it was still the Sears Tower. We got calls almost daily saying that planes were on their way. And then in 2012, on 9/11, the Benghazi fiasco, where we had American Ambassador Chris Stevens killed, September 11th, 2012. And now 2025, just one day away from September 11th, we have this assassination. I want America to heal, but there's forces within America that are evil, and they don't want healing to occur. For America to heal, we really have to come together. It needs to be led by the center right, the center left, because the extremes are too far out. The extremes need to be rejected at this point on both sides. People that are celebrating someone's death, do you guys know how dark and demented that is? I don't care who it is. Every death is a tragedy. His children will grow up without a father, and he would have been a good father. He was a good father. We should be coming together on our national tragedy, but yet all over social media, everyone is either supporting Charlie Kirk or mocking him. I had someone actually post on my page that I'm the problem because I support a racist, and there was nothing racist in Charlie Kirk. The rhetoric has gotten so tough that people just make up stories and make them into fact, even though they aren't. 9/11, everything changed. We went from a naive little country thinking that nothing would happen on our shores to one that saw 3,000 people killed. Yes, we'd had smaller terrorist attacks prior to that, but this was significant. After 9/11, all the planes stopped. Everything slowed down. Everyone changed. You hugged your loved ones a little bit more. You treated your neighbors, no matter what political party they were, a little bit nicer. It was a day where we were all vulnerable, but we came together as a country. Yesterday echoed that, and I hope we can come together as a country. There were some political people throwing temper tantrums and behaving poorly, but for the most part, I'd say 3/4 of the politicians on both sides of the aisle behaved well and respected Charlie Kirk and have been respectful. I do hope we can change as a civilization, because if we do not, we are doomed. We have technologies advancing that are advancing way past our human capabilities and are going to show people their own stupidity if we're not careful. The bigotry and the bias that people build into these technologies will be our downfall. Every time we have a challenge in this country, we tend to grow stronger together. I do hope we don't fracture apart. I hope that we can come together, that we can be together as a one United States. I do hope men and boys look at Charlie Kirk as a good example of how to take care of a family and how to lead, because we need more men like him. And I do hope security gets it figured out, so that people aren't left vulnerable like this in future situations. Charlie Kirk was interesting. He took it right to people. He said, Get a mic and tell me what your concerns are. Let's have a discussion. Let's have a dialogue. I don't see other politicians doing that. They only do it with their supporters, and they weed out anyone that's in disagreement. He wanted the people that had disagreed with him so he could learn from them. He didn't go to college, but he was well-read. He knew about more about history and economics than people that come out of college with an economics degree. He knew more about history and the relevance of history than people that study history and get a doctorate. He knew more about the Bible than most pastors. He was a very intelligent, amazing debater that was clear and concise with his opinion. The whole country mourns today, but we need to stop the political violence and the political rhetoric. It has to stop now. Donald Trump could have been murdered too. He could have been assassinated not too long ago. Literally, the left celebrated that too. They were civil for 2 or 3 days. As soon as he got out of the hospital, they were back being as nasty as before. Needs to stop. Just because people disagree with you doesn't mean they're wrong. They just have a different point of view. Maybe people need to stop talking so much and do more of what Charlie Kirk did, and he listened. He listened a lot. He'd even put his microphone down when people were asking questions so he could listen thoroughly. So why don't we all take a chapter out of Charlie Kirk's book and listen to our neighbors, love our neighbors, and do unto others as you would have done to you. This is Diva Mia. Take care of yourself today and your family.
Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment. We love hearing from you. Visit thedivadetails.com to connect. See you next week for more.
Diva Details podcast and website are intended solely for informational and entertainment purposes. The content provided does not constitute professional, medical, financial, or legal advice. We are not licensed medical practitioners, financial advisors, or legal professionals. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Any financial topics discussed are based on personal opinions and experience and should not be considered professional advice. The content provided does not constitute legal advice. The Diva Details and its affiliate contributors and guests are not liable for any losses or damages arising from the use of our content. The opinions expressed in the podcast are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of any affiliated organization, sponsors, or partners. All facts discussed in the podcast are researched and accurate to the best of our knowledge at the time of recording. Information may change over time. No guarantees are made regarding the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any statements or opinions presented. It is the responsibility of the listener to verify any and all facts that may influence their decision. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice.